Before it was about green beer or corned beef and cabbage or green donuts or any other green tinted food or drink. St. Patrick's Day, which was this past Wednesday, was in celebration of a pioneer of the Christian faith. Now, I will admit that growing up, I didn't know much about St. Patrick. But as I got into seminary, I was able to learn more about who he was and the ministry in which he took part, which I believe can be very helpful for us today. What I learned is that Patrick grew up in what is now northeast England in the late 4th or the early 5th century. Tradition says that when he was 16 years old, he was kidnapped by Irish pirates and put into slavery in Ireland. However, while in slavery, he became a devout Christian who in turn reached his captors with the gospel of Jesus Christ. After his traumatic 6 years in slavery, Patrick trained for the priesthood. England became the setting where he served the church faithfully for many years. But then one night, Patrick had a dream that would change his life. At 48 years old, Patrick interpreted his dream as a calling to spread the gospel to the Celtic peoples of Ireland. The Pope at the time commissioned Patrick as history's first missionary bishop. And in 432, tradition tells us that he arrived in Ireland with an entourage of Christian workers to help him in this task. So, what was the big deal about the Irish Celtics? Well, the obstacle was the way they were perceived. They were thought by many to be barbarians and impossible to reach because of their unsophisticated ways. The issue for many was it was impossible to civilize a people such as the Irish Celtics, but Patrick didn't care because he wasn't looking to evangelize them in order to civilize them. The truth is that the reason why Romans thought of the Celtic peoples as barbarians was because they thought more highly of themselves. And they thought that anybody who wasn't Roman or wasn't like them was less than them. They were considered barbarians. They were uncivilized. They were incapable of anything good or productive. But Patrick didn't care about any of that. And in fact, he cared so little about that he planted 700 churches. And over 1,000 people were ordained as priests because of his mission and ministry to the Irish Celtic people. Now, Patrick's ministry isn't that much different than the ministry of the early church, where we read about in Acts people like Peter and Barnabas and Paul and others being called by God to share the gospel of Jesus with their Gentile neighbors. To that point in time, it was thought that the message of God's salvation was only for a certain group of people who followed a certain set of laws, and others were impossible to reach. But what we saw beginning with Jesus is that God's message of salvation was available to all people, even those people who didn't follow the rules or act like others acted. Now, to be sure, we can also learn a great deal from St. Patrick's ministry in our modern day world. So often we judge a book by its cover, and we fail to use the opportunity that we've been given to share the love and the good news of Jesus Christ with someone simply because they aren't like us. They aren't our skin color. They don't smell like us. They don't talk like us. They don't share our same interests. They don't drive the same cars. They don't live in the same houses and all of those things. And therefore, we treat them as impossible to reach. Instead of engaging them in relationship, hearing their story, and getting to know them simply as one who was loved and created by God. This also reminds me of Joshua chapter 1, verse 9, which says, "This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Now, if we trust that God is with us wherever we go and that God goes before us, we cannot view other people or even God's desire to reach certain people as impossible. What if we asked ourselves how we would feel if someone gave up on us or viewed us as impossible to reach? Would that change how we feel about giving up on other people or viewing them as impossible to reach? I think it might. But I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody is staying safe. But as always, if you need anything, please let us know. I look forward to worshiping with you all on Sunday, either on site or online, beginning at 8:30. I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and God bless.